Welcome all as we congregate to the greatest toy line community, ever growing, ever changing. As we collect and adapt these figures to our own imaginations and embrace the fun, there's much to learn, especially if you're new to Mythics. Hello and welcome to another episode of New to Mythics, episode 51 with Nick and Joe, who is not here yet. He's running a little late. Nick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Schmerber, how about yourself, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm enjoying my Sunday. Just noticed it's snowing right now, which is kind of weird. It's technically like 7 days to spring, but Michigan's weird that way, man.
Yeah, Northern Arizona, we got snow last year up until, I think it was actually Easter, but I could be a little
Crazy.
mistaken.
Yeah, like people were thinking it was spring and almost summer already, and we're like, no, it's Michigan. Michigan don't do us like that. It'll come back and it'll change weathers or seasons on us before we're So we got to put those shorts away, or some of us. I'm shorts and flip flops
all year round.
Year. Yeah,
no, definitely.
California and me. Looks like we got Joe in. Welcome, Joe.
What up, homies?
How you doing, man?
I actually kind of just woke up not too long ago, and stupid me, I didn't check to make sure my laptop was working so that I could actually do this beforehand, which is why I'm late, because, I'm a dummy.
No worries, man. I'm glad you're here. I told Nick I wanted, like, you've been on the show already, Joe, so I wanted to do like kind of Nick's story, and then after that we'll segue. I'd like to talk a little bit about you guys' experience in the last Legion's Con. Cool. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
So Nick, tell me let's start. What did you collect when you were young Nick?
When I was a young lad, 5 minutes ago, I had
a little bit younger.
Yeah. So growing up, of course, it was like 99 when I was born. So, you got the Turtles were huge. Spider-Man was huge. And, late 90s, my brothers were, of course, getting their own toys. So, the Batmans and, Batman Beyond in our house. That was something our dad watched with us. So we had, a lot of the Batman Beyond stuff that was being released. And, I guess kind of those three combined with, G.I. Joe. It was a real diverse set.
What kind of G.I. Joe was around at that time? Do you remember?
So I think it was either 20th or 25th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And, the slightly better articulation that they had. I think there was a post in the neck and then also the head. But just leftover toys from my uncles and, my dad. They had a lot of the old vehicles.
Nice.
So even the stuff that you guys might have, had and been exposed to as youngsters, I also inherited kind of. So those are real big parts of my memory is just kind of throwing G.I. Joe.
I mean, you guys, but I mean, Joe's also still a baby. He's
of course.
Joe's a young sprite.
Yes, totally. I'm absolutely not 11 years older than Nick. No, not at all.
I always laugh in the Legion's chat
as I just stretch a little, and then my back goes crack.
Once you get older, my girlfriend is like, "Is that your knees?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like getting out of the chair. It's like pop, 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 pop. But I always laugh because Joe's like, whenever you're not in there, Nick, in Legion's chat, Joe's like, "I'm the youngest one here. I think I'm the youngest one here, everybody." And it always makes me laugh. I think that's so damn funny.
It is weird. It is weird being the youngest one there, especially with the age difference between Nick and I. Well, just there's such a gap between Nick and I. You'd think there'd be more people in that age gap in our chats, but there aren't.
I wonder what the demographic.
Also, a lot of people
I just wonder what the demographic is of
That's
like
fair.
what's the majority? Like it's got to be like 40 plus. You know what I mean? 40-year-olds plus
Okay, so like I
Oh,
heard you and
in the
Brian.
Cabal, absolutely.
that
Yeah,
buy
you and
the.
Brian were talking about this, a couple, maybe a week or so ago, and it's like all the Motu guys, they're now exposed to it because Motu is such a huge thing for the Mythics line as well, like all the tributes. That's huge. So if you weren't a Motu kid, and I wasn't,
Mhm.
the reason that I had been exposed to the line was actually through a GI Joe reviewer back in YouTube. There was a J Train 997, and at the time, because it was in Kickstarter, I didn't really have A, the money, B, the interest. Um, it was just such an alien concept to me as a kid, where it was like I could just go on Amazon, or I could go and try to find something, in stock, and I would buy it there. But Kickstarter was just like I was 15, 14, so it wasn't
Right.
even a possibility.
Yeah.
And then years later, I start looking for like, oh, I need D&D type figures, and I ran into a review with D Amazing for Cassia, and that's how I kind of was
Oh,
re-exposed
okay.
to the line. But
Let's swing back though. I wanted to go backwards and then go forward a little bit. What?
sorry, brother.
No. I wanted to get there, but I still wanted to hear like what attracted you of like the toys that your brothers had or your dad still had laying around or whatever. What was the stuff that kind of got your like that you started to collect or you had in your room or you asked for your birthday or Christmas or
Definitely, it changed, man. I would have to say, like, even now, I'm not kind of aligned with one line. Of course, I have more mythics than anything, but it would be Spider-Man. If there was a movie or a game that had come out at the time, I kind of obsessed about that. Or if there was
whatever.
like a TV show or something that had come out, or whatever, that had a new set of GI Joe, or whatever, that was always kind of the go-to. But yeah, the interests, they change concurrently even now. Like they'll
Right. Just
Space
depends
Marine
on.
2 came out, and I'm like, look, let me grab a
Yeah.
couple of Joy Toy figures.
Yeah. I always think it's interesting though how like what you said, like not a lot of people touch on that, but whatever is popular for the moment, whether like there's a new Spider-Man movie or a
Sure.
Star Wars or something, it's like, oh, then you start to look at, the products that they have coming out, like I just started noticing there's new Superman products they're starting to make. So it's
Daredevil.
like, or Daredevil, exactly. Daredevil is another good example where it's like, oh, but I wonder what is it in us that makes us want to collect stuff from the media that comes out? Like, what is that where when I was a kid, I saw Transformers or GI Joe, and like what is it in us that makes us like want that to take that home and to hold it and to what I mean? I
I
think that's
think
the
it's I
interesting.
think it's that exactly, like sometimes it gets lost throughout the ages, and even now, like I'll try to get my nieces and nephews some cool toys, and my nephews more so will be into it, because they're not as into their phones.
Mhm.
But like I feel like when you were a kid and you watched, and I'll just go from your perspective, right? He-Man, Thundercats. You would go to
Absolutely.
the store and see those and want those because those are heroic type characters. Oh, this is my favorite. This is my favorite. And you
Right.
want those. And inherently, as you grow, especially if you're a collector, I don't feel like that was mitigated much. If you like Spider-Man more than other heroes, then you're probably gonna lean on that side. Or
Mhm.
if you like Batman more, or whatever, uh, it's something that you want in hand.
Do you think
It's
it's like a manipulation?
Oh, for sure,
And
for
Joe,
sure.
how do you feel about that, Joe? Do you feel the same way, or do you feel like manipulation
A
on our
little.
young brains?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But commercials, that's what commercials are. It's a manipulation. Any and all commercials are technically a manipulation. So yeah.
Yeah, cartoons. We didn't know as kids that, like, G.I. Joe cartoon was basically a commercial for their toys or
toys.
Yeah.
but it was entertaining for us. So, we were happy, and it worked because we would go out and want to buy the toys and stuff. So,
But how many times were you sat watching the show versus how often were you in the dirt playing with your homies?
much more in the dirt, much more. Yeah. Yeah, because the show was 30 minutes. I would watch it, with all the commercials and crap, and then, after my shows were over, I would go outside after homework and, go in the backyard and grab my figures and, have some adventures back there.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that a lot of people have lost now. Like, I don't see kids outside with, the Sky Striker running down the street or the sidewalk, or the B-wing, Star Wars spaceship. I don't really see that nowadays, which is kind of a bummer, man.
I feel like entertainment is so easily accessible, but kids will get bored of it. Like you'll see, I don't know how much I'm around my nieces and nephews enough to like see that even though they're entertained on their tablets or their computers or whatever, they do get bored.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's kind of our responsibility to like keep that alive. If it wasn't for
Right.
my uncles and my dad, showing me how to make like a little tent out of toothpicks and tissue, I wouldn't have been trying to make a camp for my GI Joes when I was
Right.
a kid. And I'm only. When were you born, Joe? Or Joe? Remember?
Go ahead, Joe.
I was born in 87.
That's not a hard question either, Joe. That took way too long for you to answer that question.
I think it's a latency issue, but okay.
Is your connection okay, Joe? Because I know you said your connection is a little funky. Is there a delay or?
My connection struck. My connection there. Oh, there's a huge delay. I think my thing has a little bit of a hard time handling more than one person.
Okay.
But it seems to be mostly holding together.
Okay. Well, if you have
mostly,
issues,
every once in a while I'll lose you guys, or there'll be a huge delay. But
will we get stuck? Like,
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, if you have issues or something, or if you need to bounce, no worries.
Yeah, sometimes you'll get stuck, and then other times you turn into a spinning wheel.
Yeah, I get it. I had to move.
I'll try to stick it out a little bit longer.
I had a Wi-Fi downstairs, and it's a good
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
If it becomes an issue for you, I can always.
Okay. Sounds good. Nick, you doing good?
Yeah, we're doing all right. I just had some dogs barking. I wanted to make sure that I could bring them in.
I think I just completely disconnected.
No problem. So, we lost Joe. Joe bailed.
So that sucks, but it's all good.
That's all right. When he comes back, we'll have him back
continue.
On. Yeah.
Sure. So when were you born, of course, River?
73.
I would have guessed 70. So my dad was born in 74. So
okay.
Having that responsibility of keeping that tradition alive, like we used to go out with a shovel and dig trenches into the yard. My dad would be showing us how to dig trenches for our figures and pitch tents. My sister was big in Barbie, so she'd take like cloth and little cardboard and she'd make her own like furniture, and we would of course use that stuff as well. So just having that creativity and having these little worlds for you to create as opposed to like a computer screen or a TV screen or whatever.
I so agree with that, and I applaud your dad for kind of showing you guys more hands-on. There's nothing wrong with digital these days and finding entertainment through the internet and all that, but there's nothing better than just grabbing some toys and having adventures using your imagination,
Yeah.
building stuff, to like we made forts and
exactly.
We'd have swords made out of sticks and just go outside and have some adventures, man. And yeah, me and my sister used to do that we had little gardening shovels, and we would go out and I would get the garden hose, and I would make some like swamps and some bogs and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'd make my own Dagobah, so there'd be swampy, and have some adventures out there. That was good times, man.
Well, I mean, even like, it might not have been great, but growing up, we watched like Saving Private Ryan and like these old World War II movies. My dad was huge in World War II, so if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have been like, digging the trenches and stuff like that and the same capacity, or even, just trying to set things up. I think like when you show your kids what you're interested in, even if they're not interested in it, if they are in any capacity, they might stem and do their own thing, and then you see what they're doing, you're like, hey, let me get involved here and let me dig a trench with my son or whatever. Even if like there's a weird taboo with my father and my uncle where I can see that they see my collection from a distance and they enjoy it, but they would never collect again because of like a social stigma. I'm like, dude, you know how fun it is to like buy a fucking $30 figure and take them out into the dirt. And I'm not playing with my toys in the same capacity that I used to, but I do take the photography and set
it's
dressing
different.
and it's
But,
fun. It's genuinely fun.
Yes.
I was able to introduce my nephew into that stuff, and I haven't tried to impede him in any way. I'm like, here, man, take this light with you. Like, I'm going to show you how to make a bounce card. And, I just really hope he keeps doing that.
Yeah. Isn't that a rush, though, to kind of introduce a new concept or something like that to, a family or a friend or something? Oh, nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Just asked this morning.
I know. Absolutely. Hang on one second.
Oh, no worries, man.
Yeah, it's always fun to and I was thinking about that when you were talking about photography. That's kind of, we're not playing with them anymore, but we're kind of posing them and taking pictures, but we're also kind of we're kind of painting a picture with these figures, like telling a story with photography. So we're using our imagination. So I mean, we're not technically playing with them. It's something more advanced that we're doing now, but I think it's cool that we're still, you know what I mean? We're still using our imagination. Like, this is a swamp, this is a forest, or this is a castle, based off, using whatever cinder blocks or whatever. Like Elijah, he goes to, these ruins, or he
actually goes to ruins. Like that
actually goes to ruins. Yeah.
I'm very, very jealous of that. That's really cool.
Yeah, but I love that. Like I love Trevor's photography, but I also love like just people taking figures and going outside. Like, I don't know what, I was just looking at Elijah and his friend Faisal. There was a picture of their figures like coming out of like a little tunnel. And I know it's minute and minuscule, but one of the figures is Arakagor, the blue dragon, and Arakagor had his hand like on the wall as he was
on the wall
out.
I know the photo that you're talking about.
Yeah, and I don't know what it was, but like I was like, that to me is, I don't know, it didn't blow my mind, but it was just like,
on top.
That's so damn cool.
Yeah.
And I know it was just, but that they thought of, because that's human to me. Like if you're crawling out of somewhere, you've been in this damn dungeon for days and you're crawling out, and you're putting your hands, and he did that. And I'm like, man, that is so cool. Like, I love that. I do love other photography where, they do staged things or they do, but like, to me, that was so real, and I just love seeing that.
Definitely.
That was super cool.
I, just talking about, my my pops as well. Like he used to when we were kids and we'd be setting up the GI Joes in the dirt. My dad would be tripping out about how much the articulation got better because he's like, now if you're getting shot at, you can turn their head away, you can pull their arm up, and it's like if it wasn't for little details from both of my parents, I wouldn't have even picked up on. I would have later on maybe, but it's just slight things like that that you incorporate as a kid and going into adulthood. Like when I broke things on a figure with my mom, I would bring it to her like, "Hey, can you fix this? Can you glue this back together?" And I remember it was the Toy Biz Silver Surfer, like that super articulated, like badass.
I still have that figure. I love that. I love the Surfer. It's one of my favorites.
You know the swivel on the bicep?
Mm-hmm.
It broke. So she didn't just glue it to where it was stuck. She glued it on the inside to where the bicep still swiveled. Like it was like it never broken in the first place. And then I remember there was a Spider-Man that had like a hinge either in the toe or somewhere. And it broke and I had both the pieces and I brought it to my mother and she was like, dude, don't cry. Like it's just a paper clip. We'll just put this in here. And so if it wasn't for both of my parents, I wouldn't have even, I don't think, cared as much as a kid. And not really having too much else to do besides play video games or play with a figure. It kind of stuck with me. So I'm like, all right, let me fix this break, or there's not as much articulation here as I would like. So let me Dremel here, and let me shove a pin through here, and let me just modify this a little bit.
Really? You did that, huh?
Yeah. So there was a lot of stuff that I ended up doing as a kid, and some older work on Figure Realm, and but that was when I was a little like 11 and 12-year-old lad trying to hide the fact that I was into figures still. So
yeah, no, I get that. Like my dad didn't really he didn't know the extent of my collecting and any of that. But like that geeky side of me that he didn't understand it. You know what I mean? Like I collected comics. Like for my birthday when I was like 14 or 15, I would be like, Dad, can you take me to a comic shop in Santa Monica? And he was like, why? Like, why do you still care about that stuff? Like you should be, into girls and drinking beer and, like that type of manly, you need a truck that's lifted and you need to, you know what I mean? And it was like, I mean, I like all that stuff, but I also like this.
You also like, there's the dichotomy of that, you know, it's really interesting when people think that, like, even me as a kid, it was hard for me to understand that, like, you can be interested in getting, into trouble as a kid and doing the things that you probably shouldn't be, and girls and whatever, but still be into the figures. I had the same experience with my father growing up, but it's like, dude, you actually did this. Like you getting me your old comics when you were a kid and stuff, that you actually did that. So I definitely I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah, like he sounds like your dad nurtured your your curiosities and your interest in things. And in some ways, maybe he lives vicariously through you. Like he sees your cool stuff that you have on your shelves, and I'm too much of a man to buy that stuff.
Exactly.
But I like
I
that.
would
That's
never
cool,
do
son.
that.
Yeah.
He doesn't even say, "Look, it's cool." He'll be like, "Oh, okay."
Looks like we lost Joe. He gave us his blessings to carry on without him. Thank you, Joe. Hopefully you'll tune in. Love to have you again. I think his bandwidth and where he's at, it can't really keep up with too much going on. So it's just me and you, man.
So as the whole nurturing thing goes and whatnot, you have people that they'll approve from a distance or whatever, because they are, as you were saying, they're too manly to collect themselves, or or whatever. But when he comes over, he'll pick things up, and he's like, "You didn't buy this way?" Like like some of the knights and some of the head sculpts and stuff like that. You know, I bring my painting sets and my paint brushes with me to like family events, and while I'm there, I'll be painting up, and he's talked a lot of shit over the years, friendly,
of course,
whatever, and sometimes not. And more recently, he's taken a look at something, and he's like, "You know what? I can't talk shit anymore. Like, you've actually gotten pretty good. Like, I see the photos that you're taking." So he's it's real funny to see how, like, that, as you were saying, that manliness will affect certain individuals. And I'm like, dude, you know you like this shit.
Right.
You know
Yeah. They may not ever admit it, but
Yeah.
But I think that these days, or these younger generations, there's not really a shame in what you like. Like I see 40-year-olds that play video games all day, and there's no, or 50-year-olds or 60-year-olds, and there's not a shame. It's like, do what you like, don't
as long as your bills are paid.
As long as your bills are paid. Yeah. If you live at home with your mom and you're not working, then
maybe go get a job.
But no, I think these days it's more accepted. There's less of that, those are dolls.
Stigmas.
But I think a lot of it has to do with how we're raised and stuff, that's just my thought.
No, I totally agree with you, honestly. I feel like over the past 18 to 20 some years that I've been conscious, I would say, like, I've seen people be more gentle overall towards one another, and I think that's an awesome thing.
Right.
So when it comes to supporting people in what they do, as long as they aren't hurting anything.
Right. That's my thought. Yeah. Live
It's
your
all
best
great.
life. Enjoy yourself. Live your life, man. Do what makes you happy. Shit, I forgot the point that I was gonna make, but my stepson. I think he's a little bit older than you. He's about to turn 30 in April, and we kind of grew up together. Like he was 1, and I was like 20, and so right around when Marvel started to make movies, or X-Men, that kind of stuff, and the new figures started to come out, he was like 5 or 6, and I was all for, like, introducing cool toys to him, and like, hey, check out this, there's Toy Biz was on the scene, and they're making these amazing X-Men figures and Spider-Man figures and stuff. Like the Green Goblin was cool. Yeah. And like it was fun to kind of introduce him. Like I bought him like his first, I think it was NECA. They did the Pirates of the Caribbean. Really, really nice figures. I mean, they were like very detailed, not super articulated.
I think I know the line that you're talking about.
Yeah, like his favorite figure was Orlando Bloom as like young Will Turner. And like he came with the hat, and like the hat had a plume, and like he came with all kinds of like guns and knives and different accessories. Really, really detailed figure. And they kind of reopened my eyes. Like when I was a kid, I had these little green army men and I had a blast. But like when in my stepson's time, like that opened my eyes to like how much collecting or figures had advanced. And I was just like, whoa, like I would open his figures and here, check them out. But my point was that I kind of made it okay for him to collect, and to into junior high and high school, that was something that we connected with, and I would never shame him for enjoying a hobby, or taking pictures of his figures, and trying to, like, he would sew clothes. Like he did soft goods, like C. Jessam, he would do soft goods.
No way.
For real, dude. Like
that's sick, dude.
Yeah,
So
I was like,
to encourage
where did this
that.
come from? I was just like so blown away. But he was making like soft goods for like 1/12 scale figures, and they were good. Like he made jackets and
That's
like
badass,
all
man.
kinds of cool stuff. But I was just like proud. I'm like, dude, go for it, man. Keep making, and then he would do cosplay. He would make like a Deathstroke mask and just cool stuff. And it's like, if you can find something that really makes your heart happy and brings you joy, dude, embrace it and do it. You know what I mean?
Like,
There
why
should be no
wouldn't you
shame.
nurture that?
Yeah, there should be no shame in stuff that you enjoy.
Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree. I actually, going back to the a previous point that you had made where you were, with your nephew and kind of showing him like, I had Green Army Men at the time and it was a blast, but now it's like you have these crazy articulated figures. I got to witness some magic that I had created in my uncle he's a grandfather now.
Mhm.
So when he was growing up I think he was born in 79.
Mhm.
He had his first GI Joe was Shipwreck, right?
Okay.
I was unaware of this. So for Christmas last year, I brought over my second cousin. He's like a nephew to me. He's like 5 or 6 years old at the time. I brought him one of the GI Joe Classified, and it was the Shipwreck, the badass one with the parrot and the good articulation. I
Cool
brought it
figure.
over, and he was opening it up with my uncle, and to see my uncle's face change when he's like, "Wait, like they move so much better. Like this is crazy."
Right.
So I'm like, I got to witness a little bit
Yeah.
of magic that was created there. It was really, really cool.
Yeah. That is cool. Yeah,
I'm
because
glad that you got to experience that with your nephew.
yeah. But yeah, I had like the collecting thing had fallen asleep in me, and then when my stepson came onto the scene, like it was fun to do that with him and connect with him. And I wish that my dad would have been more, hey, let's collect the comics together. Like
Yeah.
I collected comics when he was a kid, but because he would mention it occasionally, but in his mind, he felt like, I'm a man, like this stuff.
I need to put that away.
I have to leave it behind me, like, and it's like, why do you need to, if it brings you joy, why is there an age limit?
That's literally exactly the same thing that I went through as like a 20-year-old. Because at that point, like I was, customizing again, and because when I was a kid, I never stopped. Like all of the animated Clone Wars figures and stuff like that for Star Wars at the time.
Those are cool.
They were badass. Like
Yeah.
especially the clones. They were well articulated. They were really cool, and they were affordable for a kid.
Right.
Like somebody who's a literal child. If I went out to the Mormon community that I lived in, and I worked hard and I mowed people's lawns and I picked up trash, I was able to get a surmountable amount of money to get 5 clone troopers or 2 clone troopers or 1 or whatever it was. And from there you customize them and I had a little figure realm page and I was really proud of my stuff. And at the time, my dad is starting to get to a point where it's like, you're getting a little old for this, like it's like, okay, like just whatever, I kind of started getting feelings about it. You start having people in your world is like, maybe you should start letting this go. And then girls and other kind of things start getting involved. And the collecting went to the wayside. And it wasn't until after I had been married where when I moved in with my girlfriend, now wife, I had a couple of things. Like I had like a Gundam kit. I had like a couple of Rebel Tech figures, but I did not have a collection. I wasn't customizing. It wasn't as involved. It would sit on my shelf and collect dust. So it wasn't until COVID where I was just sitting at home, and I believe it was the Call of Duty like Modern Warfare remaster. I was really hyped on like operator type characters. And if you went to Walmart, there was a Captain Price for like $5 on a discount. And then like I was working at GameStop at the time, so I knew that there was other figures like the McFarlane line did do really well. So they were cheap.
I remember those.
I bought like 4 or 5 of them. And I put like a Ewan McGregor head and like the soap head from the series 2 or 1 or whatever it was, and I made like a Task Force 141, and my wife was like, "What are you doing? You know, like what's going on? Like you're putting a lot of effort into this." Like I made the slings and like the attachments with like paper clip and all kinds of shit. I was really getting into it like I was when I was a kid. I was like, I think I want to do this again. Like I used to do this as a kid, and like I had a lot of fun, but it just went away. So I just picked it back up and I just started doing it again. And I always liked figure photography from a distance, but I didn't really get into it. I wasn't ever a photographer, so very thankful for Trevor busting my balls on Maz's show, because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be as good at photography as I am now. I'm not saying that I'm good. I'm not even saying that I'm okay. I'm just saying I'm thankful for.
I mean, even masters, even professionals like Trevor, I think, they realize that there's still stuff that they can learn. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, yeah, you're a pro, but I think Trevor's, an amazing photographer, but also a great person that's smart enough to know, hey, there's still stuff I can learn, and
Sure.
I think that's cool. But so was it amazing? Like, so you got kind of interested in photography with your figures and stuff. So was it following amazing? So how did you find out about Mythics?
So when it came to figure photography, I had followed, a couple of people. Actually, Carver Customs was one of them, just because his dioramas that he was making for the Dragon Ball scene at the time, I had actually learned inherently through somebody else. So, of course, amazing was like one of the first, real reviewers that I had consistently watched. But being exposed to like the ACBA group on Facebook. I'd been a part of that for however many years when I was a kid, and through there, just kind of started following people on Instagram and was into that. But it kind of stayed away from me. It was real specific to the hashtags that I was using when I was a kid, so it wasn't leaning outside of anything that was Hasbro. So it wasn't until I was just on. The first time I'd ever seen a Mythic, again, it was like J-Train 997, just some G.I. Joe reviewer. He was reviewing one of his Kickstarter pieces. And at the time, I just didn't have money. I was a kid, didn't have interest in a Kickstarter. So it just kind of slipped by me. But when COVID happened and I was getting back into the scene, I was looking at Amazing's reviews and just kind of going through his videos page. I was like, what the hell is this? And it was a Cassia. So I clicked into the review, and I found the Mythic Legions, kind of rediscovered it. And I'm like, oh, these are the same figures that I seen from J-Train. And they're out now. Like, I don't have to wait. So stupidly, I went to the Four Horsemen, the Store Horsemen, website, and there was a sale going on. It was the Exodus sale. So I don't know how long you've been around, but the Exodus sale was like a crazy in stock sale for Advent of Decay. And I went to go buy a couple of figures, and they had already sold out by the time like I went to my cart and gone to buy and stuff like that. And I was originally intending on making these figures into customs for Dark Souls, because nobody was making Dark Souls figures. It's a giant thing in my teenage years. So I bought the Steel Knight, the female, and Faustia.
I love that figure.
Horrific.
I love both. I'm looking at the Steel Knight right now, and so good.
Yeah, the Faustia is like so originally I bought those figures because I beat Dark Souls 1 the first time as a female character. So I was like, I need a female elite knight. Like, I wanted to remake my armor set in the game. And when I went to go pull Faustia out of the box, I was like, what the hell is this paint job? Like, I can't repaint this. This is so good. So I ended up going on to the Mythic Legions Cabal, and I hit up Ryan Willard, and he was amazing, man. Like he got me a lot of extra pieces, and I let him know like this is what this for. He's like, oh, I love Dark Souls, dude. Like here, let me hook you up, and he gave me the female chest piece from the bluish.
The Deluxe Legion Builder.
Deluxe Legion Builder, the female.
Yeah, I have that. Where's she at? I just put her on the shelf. Yeah, I love that. That's a cool chest piece too.
Yeah,
you had to repaint it though, right? Did you repaint
Yeah, I ended up repainting those to a blue color and gave her like the little cloth tabard on the neck and the little chain that goes around. I did the whole 9 yards. It was real fun.
Yeah. And so you just started following in the community, and you would buy whenever you could, or
that dude, after you pick up your first mythic, once you get it in hand, it's like another thing entirely.
Right.
So it was game over. Nobody except for the Toy Biz Lord of the Rings figures back in 2000 was making any fantasy figures.
Right.
And like with no other outlets, I guess my brain was just starved for it, because after I had gotten those two, I just didn't care about any more of my Marvel Legends. I didn't care about my Star Wars. I didn't care much about anything besides like my premiums, like my Mythics and my SH Figuarts, because those are near and dear to me. I always love imports.
I love those. Yeah, I collect those too.
Terrific. So once I sank my teeth into that Faustia and the Steel Knight, I was like, where can I buy more of these? Like I went on Big Bad, and I bought 2 Templars, 2 of the Rangers, because it was all Advent of Decay back then. It was like readily available. You just buy it. So Exodus sale was here and gone. I think I picked up 2 Steel Knights. I don't even remember what else was available at the time, but like trying to be a cool uncle, I ended up giving some of those figures to like my niece or my nephews, and then my niece got I can't remember what I gave to her, but I gave away some Legions, and now selfishly I regret it. But those kids are
that's all
because
right.
they didn't appreciate them at the time when you're
they're young,
exactly. So
you got points for it.
They got the points in the uncle basket for me, so
yeah,
we're good.
That's what matters. So, do you notice did your collecting Mythics did it change or grow, or did you find yourself just doing knights? Did you delve into other like factions, or are you pretty much linear in your collecting?
So I'm a big, like, excuse the term, lore whore, but
I don't think I've ever heard that. I love it.
it's like it's crazy for me. So I came into the line from a perspective of like a From Software player, where in Dark Souls they don't give you the story outright. They don't just tell it to you. So you have to go read everything. So once I found the line and I found Source Horseman, I literally went and read through like all of the character bios. So even figures that I still don't have to this day, I do my best to try to like have like an encyclopedic knowledge of whatever that I can, because it's just a world that I loved.
Yeah.
Like all of these little tidbits. There's not like or at least at the time, there was no talks of like a book or anything that went in like a deep dive of this world. It was just like, here we have a map, and then we have characters from this map. And I loved it, dude, because there's so many gaps that you can fill. There's a lot of conversation pieces to be had. Like one of the first videos I posted in the Cabal is like, what is the timeline of Mythos? And like there was so much back and forth during that post, even from admins. Like Elliot Lee was like, no, Siege of Bjorngar has to be the first thing that ever happened. And that really stuck with me because he has a lot of cumulative knowledge. So I went through and looked in, and and seemingly it seemed to be one of the oldest things in Mythos. So it was like I just kind of grow attachments to little things in the lore and characters that may have been at these areas and kind of filling in the gaps. And I think without going on a tangent, Hidetaka Miyazaki, the dude who makes like the Dark Souls series, he didn't understand how to read English in its entirety. So when he was a kid, he was a Japanese, child that had a little bit of knowledge on English, but he had to fill the gaps on like what would have been going on in between this part of the story, or what does this word mean or translate to, or whatever. So there's a complication in between where he filled in the gap, and it made the love for Western mythology and medieval architecture and like armor styles and stuff like that. It increased his love for that.
Right.
So I think there's something to be desired about the unknown, and like Mythos had a lot of that.
Right. So it sounds like the lore kind of fed your imagination.
Absolutely.
And Dark Souls is almost like you're playing in your own kind of, or the creator's fantasy world, but it's like medieval fantasy horror, all kind of, put together.
Yeah.
But you play your own way, you play your own style. Oh yeah, they're great games. I started with Demon Souls. I'm a little bit older. One of the best games I've ever played. Like
absolutely
Desert Island game, that I could play for years and still be entertained on.
Still go back and play it on my PS3. I prefer the PlayStation 3 version.
Yeah, but man, those games can be punishing.
Oh yeah,
but beautiful, and they and like this toy line, that it teaches you patience. You can't just rush in and press buttons. You have to it's like a strategy. You have to give a little bit, take a little bit, give a little bit, take a little bit, if you know what I mean. Like, a chop, with your sword, and then step away.
And then wait for a little bit. And then,
learn their,
you got to chip away at the boss.
Absolutely. So you kind of always been into customizing. I want to show a few of your pictures here. And so you've kind of done customs here, but also put them in your photography, which I think is super cool. I love that. A lot of people I see, like, they'll just do customs and that's it. But like, you're doing customs, but also doing badass photography as well.
Thank you. I think I came to it from a customizer's perspective first. These, of course, if anybody is unaware, these will be at the MuskyCon 2025. I don't know when this episode will air, but these were a pleasure to put together. John Blanche, if anybody is familiar with the Warhammer series, has a very particular style. I have to give credit to John Moore. He gave me the tip of using Noosh, which is like a... I've got a bottle of it somewhere around here. You can add like a normal pigment to it and essentially turn it into a wash instead of using like an oil-based wash, which is what a lot of the John Blanche style like painting uses. So, just looking at the Black Templars from the Warhammer world, of course, you'll see the black and yellow, and the lore that these guys have is more or less like they're Etheron's claw. These guys are tasked. They're an unknown subsect of Etheron's army, and they're essentially tasked with going out into Mythos, and you are not to come back until enemies are gone. Whatever objective that they had, they're not to come back. If it takes them months, years, and destroyed armor or not, you are not to come back until that's done. So just the the chains, different relics that you would think religious fanatics would have.
I love that. Like I love Mythics, and I'm not sliding. I'm not being derogatory, but I've asked. I think I even asked Eric himself, but I love the grime on
Yeah.
this. Like I love that the armor has been lived in and worn. Like I wish that that Four Horsemen would do like Templars that have been beat to shit,
Oh yeah.
like blood and grit and dirt and muddy. I just think that that would be a cool, I mean, and they have. I think Aldrich has like a the new one of the new Aldrich, Sir Aldrich. He's got like a blade,
Little battle damage or
yeah,
something.
battle damage. But I love this picture. It's got you're not seeing what they're looking at. I don't need to see what they're looking at.
Sure.
But it's like you're not holding someone's hand. It's kind of like Dark Souls, like you said. It's like I'm showing you, but I'm not showing you everything, and I don't need to show you everything. I'm showing you a moment, and that's kind of what this picture has. Is it's a moment, and I don't care what they're looking at. I'm curious what they're looking at, but I just love that they're stopping and pausing to look, at the same time at whatever it is. I just love that moment that was captured. I think that's cool, and I love the grime. I'm all for the grime.
Yeah, the customs that I've really kind of found my niche with has been that exactly. I came from a Warhammer painting
Mm,
perspective. So there's a lot of dirt, a lot of grime, a lot of beaten up. The
yeah,
shield, of course, has been through it.
yeah.
So
I mean, that
uh,
seems realistic to me. It's nice. You're Sir Gideon, and you're galloping out on your mount, and the sun is shining and brilliant, and it's reflecting, off of your armor, and but after a while, the adventures that you go through in your armor, it starts to paint a picture of where you've been and what you've done and all that stuff. So,
eventually you're gonna get knocked off your horse. You're gonna roll through the mud. You're
right,
gonna, have someone come with a mace down on the top of your shield, and it's
right,
probably gonna bust. And then
yeah,
you're gonna, so it is what it
yeah,
is.
yeah. I think the armor tells the story of what they go through. And if I was a knight, yeah, you want your armor to be in the best shape possible, but I think I would be proud of some dents and dings and you know
By
some things.
Etheron's blade, I survived.
Yeah, things that I survived, exactly. So I don't know. I really like it, and I'm not saying it's a missed opportunity. Who knows what they have planned, but I
Thank you,
think
Trevor.
that yeah, no problem. I think that the blood and stuff is stuff that they don't want to really embrace or have. But I think that it's more realistic. But that's me. But I love this. I love that you've decided to go that route. I think it's super cool.
Thank you, man. I've
Yeah,
I've been digging the grim dark aesthetic.
yeah,
The muted metals.
yeah.
Kind of poppy colors. You'll see like the yellow in certain areas.
I
I've
love the
tried
yellow, dude. Yeah, the yellow's nice. It's a nice change for sure.
I was conflicted on the visor here. I wanted to do like a glowing blue just to
Hmm.
try to bring it away from the yellow, just to kind of contrast it.
Hmm.
But me and my wife both came together after I had done the whole thing. I did like a glowing effect on like a Gears of War custom that I
Hmm.
had, like the helmet and stuff was glowing around the eye socket, and tried to replicate it. It just didn't come out the way that I wanted
Hmm.
to, even with like a gloss varnish. So just went for the orange. It
Yeah, I
looks all right.
understand, man. Yeah, I like it. I like it for sure. That's cool that you ask your wife that she has an opinion, and I do the same thing. I ask her opinions on things, and not your wife, but my fiance.
Well,
Like, Anissa, I have a question.
hey, what? I'm sure she'll be honest with you.
Absolutely, yeah,
If she doesn't like it, she'll be like, I think that looks dumb.
yeah. There you go. Hey, that
Yeah.
honesty though, for an artist, for someone creative, that honesty instead of being, oh babe, that's the best thing I've ever
That's
seen. It's like
amazing. Like, yeah, I
you
don't
you
need
don't
that.
you don't grow that way. Like you don't learn that way. You don't. that honesty is what you need. You know, like, hey, that's not working. That color is not working with that. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that too, you know, so it's nice to have that honest.
I've also got something stupid with my eyesight too. So like I guess contrasts, like I guess I see shades wrong. So like if I'm looking at like a yellow green and like a yellow next to each other, eventually they look like the same color. So like I'll really have to be like, hey, does this
Yeah.
look right to you or whatever? But I found a trick. If you take a picture and then you drop the saturation or increase it, depends. Then I guess like I'm seeing what somebody else would see, but stupid. I'll just work with what I got.
That's right. Work with what you got. Yeah, this is another one I liked. And once again, like this, looking at the sword, looking at, you know, the how the armor is, it's lived in. It's been rained on.
Yeah.
We've wiped
Thank you
blood
for
off. Yeah,
I
I
try to
dig it.
have the patinas and different stuff. Especially in here, you can actually see the noosh that I was talking about from Pro Acryl, mixing a brown and a green and a black, around the bottom portion of the legs and around the fists and
Yes.
different areas to get like a good verdigris or wherever that you would, if you're taking your greaves off in the mud or if you're wherever that you are, even just walking through it, it's going to accumulate. So
I think your work has it's made it more human to me. It's made it more realistic and lived in. Like this armor, it looks more realistic to me, you know, like you've put a human touch to it, I think.
thank you, sir. All that is really it's a Valiant Knight with 3 different metallic stipples, and then a wash in between, and then the noosh and a couple of pigment powders and stuff. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Absolutely.
I was actually put on the spot with Sherry on this one during Legions Con 24. She's like, "Oh, why don't you?" I was like talking to her, and I love her. Picking her brain was amazing, but
Sherry's awesome. Yeah, Sherry's
she
awesome.
put me on the spot. She's like, "Oh, why don't you show me something that you're doing?" I'm like, "Oh,
what do I show her?"
Real quick. She's seen this one. She's like, "I really like this. This is really cool."
I do
It's
too.
really, really humbling. So thank you very much, Murder.
Yeah, no, I think the photography also, I'm not an expert, but I know what I like, and I like this picture very much because it looks like, you know, a battle won at dawn. You know, it's been like a rough, you know, this guy's been through it and he survived, and he's like surveying the battlefield, kind of like that. That's kind of what it shows me. Like the sun is either setting or it's rising. I don't know yet. Maybe the knight doesn't know either. You know, he's just been
It's just been so long
trying to survive. Yeah, and he's actually like ran out of, you know, enemies, and he's just kind of surveying, exhausted, barely holding on to his sword and shield, but he's ready for whatever. You know, that's just
hands shaking, but we're ready for another volley. Let's go.
Yeah. So yeah, I dig it, man. I think it's super cool, dude.
Thank you, man.
Super cool.
That was actually it's like a red shield soldier that I had in my brain when they had the pre-order for the blue sealed. I just was like, first age red shield soldier, what would it look like? I used a Valiant Knight, but here's the actual first John Blanche style knight that I'd make my Etheron's claw. You can see on the hip here, there's like a real small checkerboard pattern. I was really proud of that, but it was really irritating to do. But this was a really fun piece. I just made these for myself, honestly. There's if you're familiar with Warhammer, I've of course
a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit.
Yeah, it's just fun stuff, like the little relics, the little 3D printed pieces. They're on the calf. There's a purity seal. It's like essentially scripture. That would be like Etheron scripture or whatever kind of books that you would see in Ethros, and a stamp for like a bird. So I had a lot of fun making these, actually.
Yeah, I enjoy them. I think they're awesome, dude. Well done, man. And then this last slide, or one of the last, I think this is where I first met you. I think it was on Legion's chat, and you were working on these, and you're like, it's a secret, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
I'm trying to create these, and you showed it off, and I was like, damn, that is pretty cool, because I have not seen anyone make what is it, a Pip Boy, like a, what's it called? I've never seen
it's a Pip Boy.
Never seen anyone make one, and I'm like, that is freaking cool, dude. What's the scale on that? Is it 1/12 or?
Those are 1/12 scale.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to make them specifically for the Mezco Logan because I had a custom in mind for myself. But once I had actually finished it up, I'm like, hey, this can actually fit on the male G.I. Joe characters and then the male Valaverse figures as well. They fit. But my buddy Joe M was looking. He was actually the first person to support him, and I feel a little whatever. I gotta hook homie up with a new painted one, but he was actually my test dummy, trying to figure out what is going to be, you know, the best look, paint job, and stuff like that. He's been a blessing during the initial point of the Pit Boys. They didn't sell initially like I thought they would, but don't ever go into a process trying to sell something and have an expectation for it.
Right.
They ended up selling. They ended up putting, you know, everything that everything got sold that I needed to.
Cool.
But
Man.
I ended up giving away a lot of those. I printed up more during the lead up to Legion's Con. So there's a couple people who ended up getting those unpainted. So it was a real fun thing to do.
Those are cool.
You guys,
what was that?
Oh, I was gonna say, if you guys have any, you know, inquiries about those, don't be afraid to shoot me a message or whatever.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna draw it up, man. I had a great hour with you. It's a shame that Joe couldn't hop on with us. I appreciate that cameo, Joe. Thank you, Joe. But I really enjoyed my conversation with you. I hope we can do it again another time.
No, I hope we can do this again, man. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for Joe, you know, putting me on as well. I hope you have a good day, Schmerver.
Oh, I also wanted to show this right here, dude. Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Nothing but love to the Cabal. All you guys did nothing but support me consistently. I know I probably talk about it too much,
awesome.
But it's been a journey, man. Like, this is more my mental health than anything, and you guys have been my biggest supporters, even more so than my family. So nothing but thank you.
Yeah,
thank you to everybody.
Community's the best. Where can they watch these fights if they're not following you? First off, if you're in the community and you're not following Nick, follow him. But where can people watch your fights and support you and cheer for you?
I kind of kept it under wraps a little bit, but Street Beef's West Coast is, you know, where I started. They have a couple
right here at the top here.
Up here on the top. Yeah, you can watch the fights on YouTube. My first fight of the day has not been put up yet, but my title fight that I lost, it is. That was probably my favorite fight by far. Despite losing, my opponent was not only like a stellar individual, but like it was just, he stayed toe to toe with me. Nobody really wants to throw hands like that, so I was very appreciative. But you can watch it on YouTube, Street Beefs West Coast. They invited me out to the actual Street Beef scrapyard, so going to Virginia is looking like a possibility here in the future.
Awesome.
So you know, just trying to go to different branches. I might end up going out to Washington if any of you guys are in the community and you know, we would like to hang out and just chill around the same time. I would love to come see everybody's collections, or even just take some photography, or just hang out at a bar or something.
There you go.
You don't have to drink. You don't have to drink at all. I don't have to drink. Sometimes I don't because I get a bellyache. But I like to hang out. I love everybody.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just talking toys, man, or whatever. It's good. It's all good. But yeah, I appreciate you, Nick, and watching your fights. Just as a side note, I love how respectful you are to your opponents. You know what I mean? Like I see some of these professional things, and it's almost like they're trying to make them hate each other. And you're not like that. Like you have respect for your opponent. You know, there's no hatred there. There's no animosity.
No, I seem like an ass on the outside. Like I can say things that's crazy, but universally, like I love people.
Mhm.
I love everybody, man. So I try not to like have anything that steps over that bound. You know, I
Right.
always try to be as genuine and straightforward as I can be, and sometimes that results in me kind of saying things off cuff, but it's all love.
Yeah. And at the end, that's it. You know, it's over. You know, it's all good. That's right on, man. All right, dude. Well, I appreciate you, man, and I will see you soon. This episode should air in a few weeks. It'll probably be after MuskyCon, but
Oh, that's okay.
that's all right, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Schmerber. You have a wonderful day, man.
You too, man. Have a good one. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you, guys.
Remember, friends, to always have fun, be curious, share, and enjoy what this line has to offer. Come for the toys, but stay for the friends. Good night, and thank you very much.